Welcome to the Retired Athlete Mentality Podcast, the podcast where we dive deep into the stories of former collegiate athletes who have transitioned from the competitive world of college sports to the grueling but rewarding world of endurance racing. Each episode, we bring on athletes who have gone from courts, fields, and tracks to marathons, triathlons, and even ultras. School's back in session. Welcome to the show. What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Retired Athlete Mentality Podcast. I'm your host, Jamal from Running State University, and on this episode, we have Hunter Etheridge from James Madison University. At James Madison, Hunter played quarterback and won 3 Coastal Athletic Association Conference championships and a Division I FCS championship in 2016. While on the team, he was consistently on the academic all-conference team and was a semifinalist for the Campbell Trophy Award, aka the Academic Heisman. After graduating, Hunter attended physical therapy school and is now practicing as a physical therapist in Durham, North Carolina. Hunter, let's talk about your retired athlete mentality. How have you been?
Good. How about yourself?
Not bad. We're obviously battling some technical difficulties, but we're getting through it and we're getting the show on the road.
There you go.
How's life? How's a life in North Carolina?
Good. Yeah, just staying busy both personally and professionally. I'm just working as a full-time physical therapist, personally training for a marathon coming up here in a couple of weeks, training people on the side as well with my run coaching, and then being a busy dad and a husband to my wife. So just very busy but fun times.
Yeah, that's all busy. Balancing all 4 of those things can be tough, but I think we'll talk about some of those things here today.
Yep.
So just so you know, you are technically the first football player that I have on the show. So welcome. You're the honorary football player on the show. I think I've had some soccer players, some rowers, obviously some cross country runners, but you are the first football players. Congratulations.
Hey, thank you. I'm glad to represent the sport in a whole. So
Yeah.
I can represent football well.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And so before we get into running, let's talk about where you started. So you went to James Madison to play football. Where did you start your football journey?
Yeah, so I mean, taking it all the way back, I started playing football when I was 6 years old, and then played all the way up through college. I was fortunate to have the opportunity to play at JMU, where I was there for 4.5 years, where I was able to build a lot of good relationships with people. Football was great. We were very successful, with what you mentioned with our success on the field. But really, what I really remember a lot about my experience at JMU and playing football was the people that I was around and lifelong friends that I have grown close with. And football has given me so much as a game, playing from the time I was 6 years old until I graduated college. It taught me so many life lessons, brought me close to people I probably would have never became close with. And I've taken so much away from football. I'm so grateful for all my experience of playing football, not just at JMU, but my whole life.
Yeah, and did you play any other sports in high school?
Yep. So I grew up playing football, basketball, and baseball.
Okay.
When I got to high school, kind of got burned out with baseball a little bit. I did track for a couple of seasons, but mainly football and basketball. And then some early high school, a little bit of baseball, and then towards the end, track. Yep.
Yeah, and were you getting recruited for basketball at all, or no? It was mostly football?
No, it was football from the go. Football was definitely my favorite sport growing up, and that was what I wanted to do to play in college was play football. I feel like I was pretty athletic and probably could have gone to a smaller school to play basketball or track, but really I was all about football, and fortunate that I was able to play football in college.
Yeah, and was James Madison like your top choice, or were there other schools that you were considering?
Yeah, so actually, interesting story. So definitely other schools that I was considering, but really what it came down to was I had a preferred walk-on at NC State, and then I had a preferred walk-on at James Madison. And I'm a twin, and I have a twin brother, and we actually went to 2 different high schools. And
Oh,
so,
wow.
it was either, I could go to NC State and be by myself and not be with him, or I could have gone to JMU where he had the opportunity to go. And luckily I had the second invite, but yeah, it was kind of interesting how it played out because, he was talking to JMU from his junior year all the way through
Yeah.
senior year. They were always interested in him. And, I was going to the recruiting visits with him, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Hey, here's my brother. He plays quarterback." Well, they're like, "Oh, sorry. We got quarterbacks on our roster. We already got a commit and everything. Like, we're not going to take another one." And then it was actually not until after the spring game, which was probably the end of April of my senior year. I was still like deciding, like, I got to figure out where I'm going to go play college football.
Yeah.
Um, and so they had a transfer quarterback come in from Georgia Tech named Badley, beat out the guy that was already there as a starter. And he ended up transferring immediately after spring game, and a spot came open, and they're like, "Hey, we already have this relationship with you. You've kind of met with us
Yeah.
a couple of times. We do have a spot now. Do you want to come?" And so it just ended up working out where me and my brother were able to play football together. And it's just an interesting story how it ended up happening. So
Yeah, the recruiting process gets pretty wild. It goes I've talked to a few people, but it can go anywhere from like the very beginning, junior year committing to like the very last second and it's like, "Hey, this is where I'm going to school now."
yeah. And so, yeah, that's how it was for me, very last second. And like I said, I did have I had other opportunities where, I could have gone, but really me and my brother were trying to go somewhere together and ended up working out, which was great.
Yeah, that's super cool. I don't actually I actually do know one set of twins that went to go play somewhere, but it's crazy to see twins going to the same school, playing the same sport.
Oh, yeah.
What position did your brother play?
He played outside linebacker and defensive line. He kind of
Okay,
moved around
cool.
throughout his career,
Yeah.
but ended up playing D line the majority of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you get to James Madison. What was it like being on the team there?
Yeah, it was so much fun. I feel like a part of our success was our kind of our locker room. Really, we were so close and tight knit. Which kind of already mentioned with kind of building my lifelong friends and with all my teammates. But I loved going to school there. I met my wife there. We started dating after my freshman year. I loved the community, the school itself, the environment with just the student body. There's such a high school spirit there and such a support for athletics. I felt like I built bonds with my professors and my teachers and got to know them well. And the football was just a bonus, right? It was fun. We were successful. Yes, it was very hard at times with the workouts and schedules and balancing all that. But again, it's kind of shaped me into who I am now. And I wouldn't do anything differently looking back on it.
Yeah, and so JMU has a long history of, FCS success,
Hmm.
right? But when you look at the FCS, there's a couple teams from the Dakotas that have, been winning for a very long time, South Dakota and North Dakota State.
Hmm.
What was it like, winning in 2016, not being from one of those schools?
At the time, I wanna say North Dakota State had won 5 in a row, and
Yeah,
what was awesome about that year was we went to North Dakota State and played North Dakota State in the semifinals and beat them to go to the national championship. So, it was just kind of like our rite of passage. Yeah, I mean, that place in itself is crazy. Like, I would
yeah.
recommend anybody who is a college football fan, if you wanna see a true college football atmosphere, like, go to North Dakota State, and that's from a JMU person, you know?
Wow.
It was so loud, like, I'll give you this has never happened before in terms of when we play on the road, it's loud, teams are gonna be screaming the whole time. We're on offense, we're trying to communicate, but on the sideline, I'm one of those guys that's signaling in the play, so I got the headset on, right? Um,
Yeah,
North Dakota State was the only place where they gave me a headset that had 2 earpieces. Everywhere else just had 1, but for the entire game, we all had 2 because you couldn't
yeah,
hear and focus without it. But honestly, I enjoyed it, right? They gave me the 2, but I had the 1 tilted up because I wanted to kinda hear
yeah.
that noise. But it was awesome. I mean, those are all kind of great programs, and it was so much fun going to that trip and playing that team. The next year, we played South Dakota State at home in the semifinals and beat them to go to the national championship again. Yeah, it's I had such a great time playing, and I'm glad that we were able to win a national championship when we were there because the teams that we were on were very dominant, and it was so much fun. I won't ever forget those games and those times that we had winning and losing, but it was so much fun.
Yeah, that's an amazing atmosphere, and I feel like I have to explain a little bit because this is a running podcast, so some people might not know college football, but there is the FBS,
Mhm.
which is your typical football championship division where you see bowl games and the New Year's bowl games, and now we have college football playoffs. That's FBS.
Mhm.
And then there's FCS, the football championship division, which has always played, at least as long as I've known, has always played the traditional championship bracket style play. Used to be Division One A and Division One AA,
Yeah, that's right.
and so that's the difference between those two leagues or divisions. Um, but the football is still incredible in both leagues, and so it's super cool. I think Appalachian State was also a school that had a good history. Some other schools, to include the Dakotas and James Madison. So it's a super cool atmosphere, especially when they, a lot. There'll be some teams that go completely undefeated, which is super cool.
Yeah, and the biggest like with football, it's the only division that they split it up like that. Like baseball,
Yeah.
basketball, and softball, like it's Division One, Division Two, Division Three. Football is the only
Yep.
one where it's split into two. But I would talent wise, you're right. Like there's good football at that level. The biggest difference is from the D1A to D1 AA is the D1A that the top dogs, they're deeper. They have bigger rosters. We didn't have as many scholarships, so we have the
Hmm.
talent, just not as much depth. It's a great atmosphere. It's a great league, and it's very respectable for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I love watching those games and seeing the Dakotas and the JMUs and the Appalachian States play. And so when you were there, we also mentioned that you won the Campbell Trophy Award,
Mhm.
which when people bring that up, they see that as the academic Heisman. Can you talk about how you became a finalist for that?
Yeah, so it's based on a couple of criteria. You have to be a contributing member to your community. So you have to have a lot of community service hours. You have to have recommendation letters from people in the community. You have to be a major contributor on your football team. So it's not just like we're just going to give this to the smartest person. We're just going to, hand out this award. It's something that's respectable that people see you as a positive light in your community. Every school gets a nomination that you can nominate, and then they take all that information, your GPA, your recommendation letters, your community service hours, your contributions on the field, and try to pick the best representative of that trophy.
Yeah, that's super cool. And did you get to go to the award ceremony?
I did not. They do have every year they have a conference that's actually out at Stanford University. I've been to that, which was a lot of fun. It's a huge, like, basically networking event where you meet up with all these former semifinalists, and they invite everybody back every single year. And they have guest speakers come. They have CEOs of major companies come and speak, and kind of talk about almost kind of like what we're going to be talking about now is just the bridge between athletics and kind of personal life, and how your experience of playing football can shape who you are going to be like after you're done playing, and the lessons that we're all taught from the game, and how we should still use those lessons and use those relationships to build our lives moving forward. So I've been to that, and it's an awesome event for sure.
Yeah, that sounds super awesome. It's awesome to maintain network, especially when you are trying to get right into the real world. It's important to use other people to help you get to where you want to be.
Oh yeah.
And so now we've kind of made it to that point where we're transitioning to, real life. And so after you graduated, you decided to go to physical therapy school.
Mhm.
You studied kinesiology in school, right? Was that always the plan from college to go to physical therapy school?
Not always, really, because I came into JMU undecided. Didn't really know what I wanted to do, so I just picked sports and rec management as a major. Did that for a year. I love sports, so
Oh,
um,
yeah.
did that for a year, and kind of, I already had my connections with playing football, so I was like, I feel like I don't really need to major in this as well. So I
Yeah.
switched to kinesiology. I've one that has always been interested in how the body works, and I love exercise. I love activity. I love promoting that, and so that's when I switched to kinesiology. I did that for another year, and then had to get an internship. And I did an internship with a physical therapist up at JMU, and loved that experience. Really kind of opened my eyes to the field itself, and really could have and saw myself being able to do that. So then from there on out, I was PT all the way, and then applied to PT school and went to PT school.
Yeah, we need our physical therapists for all of us who are running ourselves into the ground. We
Yep.
need you. We
Yep.
need you to keep us healthy.
Yep.
And so you went to physical therapy school, then you went to be a physical therapist. At what point did you start your essentially longer distance running journey?
Yeah, basically, it was as soon as I graduated from JMU. Started running just to stay in shape. During while I was playing football, I was keeping on a lot of weight, more than I was probably used to, just to be able to play football. You got to be able to take impacts and collisions, so you have to keep on some weight. So really, I wanted to lose some weight, and I just wanted to stay active. So right when I graduated, couple weeks, took some weeks off from playing football, obviously, and then just started being active. I love weightlifting, so I was still lifting weights, and then I started running. I remember the first run I did, it was 2 miles, wearing some old Nike shoes that I had from high school that
Yeah.
probably were terrible for me to be running in.
Yeah.
But just kind of started it off from there, and then next run did a couple, a little bit longer, a little bit longer, and then a couple weeks down the line, I've lost 30 pounds, I think, in about 3 months or so. I
Wow.
think part of that was just me not eating in a dining hall for every meal.
Yeah.
And they're giving you food all the time, snacks, and you get on the
Oh,
bus
yeah.
to go to the game. Here's two Chick-fil-A sandwiches.
Yeah.
So I think that was part of it, but really just to stay in shape. I think part of my motivation too was like seeing guys come back after they had graduated. They either went up or down. Like there was nobody
Yeah.
stayed the exact how they were. Like
Yeah.
you had those big guys, our offensive linemen, 300 pounds. You come back and you couldn't even recognize them. They lost so much weight. And you'd have the opposite, where you'd have those skill guys that were cut and lean and
Yeah.
like, oh, what have you been doing, man?
What happened?
So I didn't want to be. I wanted to, like I said, stay in shape, lose some weight, and that's when I fell in love with my running journey for sure.
Yeah, I'm honestly a fan of seeing the transformation of offensive lineman to runner. And it's crazy
Yeah.
because like they'll you'll know them as offensive linemen, and then now they're like your running partner and they're keeping up with you, and it's just like I remember when you were like 300
Yeah.
to 290 300 pounds, and now you're like running next to me.
Oh yeah, and a lot of those guys, like I said, they're unrecognizable. Like sometimes it'll be a couple years I go back to homecoming and be like, oh crap, like dang, you look good.
Yeah.
But it's awesome. Yeah, and running has done a lot for people like that, and
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, and what was your first race after you started getting into it?
First race, that's a good question. Honestly, it was probably that my first half marathon, which was a terrible experience for me.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I take that. No, but well, first race was actually going to be March of 2020. Got canceled because of COVID. So then I did it virtually, but that was I didn't want to count that as a race. I was just
Yeah.
going out for a long run.
Yeah, exactly.
um, but yeah, first race was the year after. Was a terrible experience, and I could talk about that if you want me to.
Yeah, let's hear it. I want the
So
details.
I think part of me, especially like from athletics, right? Like you're taught, never give up, like give it your all, like go all out, like don't
Yeah.
give in. That's I feel like that's the mindset that you're taught growing up playing sports through high school, through college. So I had that with running, right? Like which looking back on is not the best mindset to have.
Yeah.
I'm training for this half. I think I ran up to, I think I did like 9-ish miles leading up to it. All my runs were first thing in the morning, wouldn't eat, wouldn't drink anything. I hated anything in my stomach when I was running. I could not do it.
Mhm.
So this half marathon, I don't eat anything before. That's how I train. That's how I've been running. And
Yeah.
I'm one that's going to push myself. Like I push myself
Yeah.
to the limits and no matter what. Right. So I'm running halfway through, I'm flying. I'm like, "Oh, I'm feeling great. Like, I'm about to kill this thing," right? Around mile 7, is when I start to not feel too good. I think that's when my, like, toes and fingers start to go numb a little bit. By mile 10, my vision just started to tunnel, right?
Yeah.
And the last, I think, mile or 2, I kinda just, like, blacked out. Like, I couldn't
Yeah.
barely see. I just kinda picked somebody right in front of me, stuck with them. Um, Basically, I was going in hypoglycemic shock. Like my blood sugars
Yeah.
were tanking. I didn't eat anything. I had a couple of drinks of water along the race. I was hydrated going into it. So I don't know how, but I finished the race and just kind of immediately collapsed. And
Yeah.
I can't feel my feet, can't feel my
Yeah.
hands. I'm sweating profusely. I probably laid there for, obviously paramedics were helping me out. Uh, but I probably laid there when I was looking at my watch, checking my heart rate. It had been 20 minutes after I finished the race, and now my heart rate was still like 160. Like it was,
Wow.
it was up there. They knew what was going on. Obviously, they've seen this multiple times with runners or
Yeah.
races. You know, some drink, some food in my system, and I was back like that. And I was like so out of it too mentally. Like they were trying to ask me like a phone number. I was trying to because my I think my wife at the time she wasn't in town, and my sister was, and I was like, I can't. I know my sister's phone number. I just could not like spit it out. Right. It was just
Yeah.
I had no sugar going to my brains. My brain wasn't working. So that was my first race. That was my first true race. Um, Great experience.
Yeah. No, it's funny because it's like you look back at that
Yeah.
and you're just like all of the things that you know now,
Mhm.
you just like you wonder like how you ever ran like before
Exactly.
because you need to fuel, you need water, you need electrolytes, you need sugar, you need
Mm.
carbs, you need all of it. And you're right. Like when you get out of college, you're like, I'm invincible. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go do this run and it's gonna go for fine.
Yeah,
But
so
it's not
that's,
the same as football.
yep, so, it's funny, every time I go for a run now, like, I'll be like, "Hey," like, I'm talking to my wife, like, "Hey, I'm going for a run." They're like, "Alright, do you need something to go with you? Like, you need a snack? And you take" It's kinda just like a joke now, but yeah, definitely lessons learned for sure. So yeah, it was I wouldn't recommend anybody doing that, just not eating before a race and not eating anything during the race.
Yeah. And so you've done I think you said you've done everything from a 5K to a full marathon.
Mhm.
Are you going into these runs, you know, with that same college mentality of competitiveness, or are you doing more of it just to stay in shape and have a good time and, you know, do it for fun?
No, I mean, I definitely have a goal in mind, right? And, like, when I'm training for a race, like, yes, it's serious, it's planned, it's intentional, right? Like, I have, okay, I'm gonna do my best, and that's what every kind of training block. That's what I'm doing. Going into race day as a competition, it's game day. Like, here's your time to shine. You've been working for this, just like you have been, leading up to your first football game. You've been putting in the work all off season. Now it's time to prove it. So I still have that mindset going into each race. Now, day to day, it's not the time to go out and give it your all on just a random Tuesday morning by
Yeah.
yourself at 5 a.m. Not the time to do that. But
Yeah.
yes, I definitely still have that drive, that motivation. I've been a very competitive person my whole life, and I don't think that's ever going to change. I mean, that's not just with running, like, personally, like, I try to better myself every single day, just the way I go about my business, whether it be, running or it be some random thing, I'm gonna give it my all and do my best, so, for sure, I keep that mindset with me.
Yeah, I love that mentality. You know, I'm there with you. Like on a Tuesday morning, and you know, after you know a night of like the kids like not getting to bed on time or just like not having a good day at work, it's tough to go out there with that mentality. But you know, like over time, you know, training for a race is a long time. So like you have room to have ups and downs, and so you give it your all on some workouts, and then you give what you got on the others, and
Mhm.
it's a great mentality to have and to keep having after collegiate sports because it just keeps your mentality strong and keeps you positive and pushing for new goals every time.
Yeah, and I think part of it too is, like, being able to take a step back and knowing, like, "Okay, here's when to push, here's when to give," like, it's okay to not run to burn out every single run, right? Like as a coach, as a PT, I know that's detrimental. That can hinder your performance. Long term, that's going to lead to injury. Long term, that's going to lead to burnout. Like just because it's easy, you need to keep easy runs easy. Like it's just mentally just as hard to do that than it is physically to go out and run as hard as you can. So I think that's still having that competitive mindset of knowing when you need to push and knowing when you need to back off.
Yeah, and so you know you've kind of talked about your college time and then your transition. Did you find it hard transitioning from college, or was it not bad? You know, balancing work, running, family life. Was that a good transition for you?
I think it was, because for me, it was always like there was always a next step, right? Like there was always, all right, I'm gonna graduate, and then got accepted into PT school. All right, we're going to PT school. Now we're gonna grind through PT school, graduate from PT school, go out in the real world and be a PT, right? So there's always been a trajectory, a plan, a path. So for me, it was just, okay, here's the next thing, right? Here, it's like our next game, right? Here's our next game.
Yeah.
Think of it long term that way. For me, it wasn't. No, I think it was an easy transition. Definitely, I had seen plenty of teammates struggle with that though. Of like,
Yeah.
especially when their playing days are over. Of like, oh my gosh, what's next? Like, yes, they might have a job lined up, but like I had all this structure, I had all this community, I had all this support when I was playing college. And sometimes transitioning from that is tough. And if you don't have that right mindset, then it is going to be hard. And you don't have that right support system around you, it is going to be hard. And for me, I had all those things, right? I had my girlfriend at the time, soon to be fiance, that was there with me the whole step of the way. I had a new group of people that I was going into with my PT school classmates that we were all in the same boat, working together, struggling together. But when you're out there by yourself in that situation, I've seen many of guys struggle because it is hard.
Yeah, and so you're a coach, you're a physical therapist. How does a coach slash physical therapist develop a training plan for your own personal running? Are you putting your training plan together, or are you being coached by someone else? What does that look like?
No, I design my own just through my experience with coaching, doing my research, doing kind of understanding what's worked for me in the past, what hasn't worked for me. All that has been shaping my program. I'm very organized. I like being in control of my training and what I'm doing. But no, it's definitely put together by myself. But again, it's kind of okay, this worked well. Okay, maybe this time I didn't necessarily like that, or this workout I tried. Okay, let's give this workout a try. Nope, nah, I didn't necessarily love that. So
Yeah.
let's go somewhere else, right? And plus with that too, I know my schedule. I know when I'm going out of town, what days and times are going to work. You know, at the time when I ran my first marathon, my son was I think 3 months old. So
Yeah.
Brooklyn, like when I can run, it's
Yeah.
tough. So
Yeah.
I can adjust. I'm very organized, but also can adjust on the fly. So I've definitely grown to learn too of like I'm gonna run when I can. Ideally,
Yeah.
yes, there are times where I would love to run, but schedule might not work out, right? My son might get 4 hours of sleep, and I might get 4 hours of sleep, so
That's right.
I'm gonna go for a run that next morning.
Yeah.
So again, it's always on the fly, it's always on the adjust, but I'm happy that I'm able to adjust on the fly like that.
Yeah, I love that, and that's something I like to always take pride in is being adaptable
Yep.
because, life is gonna life, and you just need to be adaptable so that you don't mentally wear yourself out because, you can take a couple losses in a row when, you're balancing work, life, family, but as long as you're adaptable, you can take it, without taking a huge blow.
Yeah, and that's not just with running, that's like you said, it's life, you're gonna have
Yeah.
days and times where things are going to come at you where you're not going to have that control. So just being able to adjust and have a good mindset of here's what I can control, here's what I can do about the situation. Because there's so many things in life that we can't control. I mean, really, all you can control is what you do.
Yeah. And so you're in Durham, right?
Yep.
From what I understand, Durham's a pretty good running community, right?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Do you get the chance to run with others, or is it mostly that, bright and early morning when no one's awake?
Yep, it's usually by myself.
Yeah.
I would love to run with others. I mean, I'm running around other people, but
Yeah.
no, yeah, I like training by myself. I think it gives me time to just be by myself and have my own thoughts and have alone time. Really,
Yeah.
it's my joy of it's my zen, I guess. Just
Yeah.
to be by myself and honestly too, like being with a group of people and obviously with family situation of being here with my son and with my wife and everybody. Obviously, yes, I would love to run with groups of people, but it might not always work out. I can put my son to bed and doing things for that. I'm going to do that, take care of that stuff first,
Yeah.
obviously. So then after that is going to be me doing my own thing. So
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, I find it myself really difficult to consciously be like, yeah, I'm gonna go to a run group, like a Tuesday night run group at the track
Mhm.
and just like leave I don't know, maybe it's my own personal problem,
Yeah.
but it's just like I feel like I'm just leaving the family behind just to go run. And so that's one thing that I think I struggle with is trying to balance, the want because I don't. It's a want. I don't need to go out and run
Yeah.
with a group. I think if I wanted to get, probably a little bit better here and there, a running group would help. But
Mhm.
I think it's all about balance, like we've talked about. So
Yeah. And I think for me, part of it too is like I'm very specific. All right, I'm gonna do this many miles at this time.
yeah,
Who out there
yeah,
is gonna run that exact many miles at that time,
yeah,
at this time of day? So
right,
I'm structured that way, which I think is
yeah,
beneficial for me. So I think that's part of it too. Yeah.
yeah. And so you are, so outside of running, you're a physical therapist,
Mhm.
and you've been doing it for about 4 years. Is
4
that
years.
right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And so what kind of therapy are you doing?
Yeah, so I'm at a private practice, general orthopedic outpatient, right? So I see anybody from a high school athlete to geriatric population and everything in between, which I love because every single day is different. Like you could have
Yeah,
the same people on your caseload, but you're gonna I'm trying to think back to this morning, kind of give you an idea of what my schedule looked like. I had a runner first thing in the morning come in with a calf strain. And then after that, I had a lady come in that's had chronic low back pain. After that, I had somebody come in that had just had a hip replacement. After that, I had another runner who was getting ready for a race coming up. After that, I had somebody deal with some chronic shoulder pain. So literally, it's just like everything is different and it's great. So I'm not doing the same thing every day. I get to interact and meet so many different people and meet them with where they're at. So it's not just those high level athletes. It's not just those post op patients. It's everything in between, which is awesome. So it's great. I get to meet and interact with so many cool people, hear so many stories about their life and personal lives and what their goals are, what they're trying to get back to, because that's what my job is basically trying to help them achieve whatever goals they've set out for themselves. So it's an awesome career. It's an awesome day to day. It goes by pretty quick. My time slots are 40 minutes. So every 40 minutes, I have a new patient coming in.
yeah,
So again, it's not like I'm just doing the same thing over and over all day. I get to be active. I get to move. Like, yes, I do have to document what I'm doing on the computer, but like I'm showing people exercises. I'm doing stuff with my hands. I'm doing hands-on treatment, manual therapy. It's so just diverse and different, and I love it.
yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love the part about you working with everybody from like a high schooler to like an older, like a grandparent, and
Mhm.
it's awesome to see that, that's out there, and like you love what you're doing, and that you're and I love what you said about essentially getting people back to where they were, which is the biggest thing when it comes to an injury or a procedure, is getting back to what you were, and sometimes it's not going to be back to what you were, just based on what happened, but
Of course.
other times it can be back to normal. And
Yeah.
so it sounds like you're not necessarily focused specifically on runners, um, because I think I've seen your Instagram a little bit, and you do have a lot of educational information geared towards runners. Are you looking to eventually focus on runners, or just you still want to be a kind of a generalist in that?
I would love to focus more on runners. I do like, obviously, love being a journalist as well. Obviously, running is my passion, so I know a lot about that. So I feel like I have a lot of information to give about that, which is why a lot of my information that I put out is about running. I do also too in our clinic we do running analysis, which I feel like I've gotten really good at. Of okay, let's take a look at somebody's run form and see, what's going on here. How can that be leading to injury? How could that be kind of affecting their performance. So that's something that I do there as well. Again, the run coaching side of things, but a lot of my information that I put out there too is like information that I almost kind of want to clear the air about. I
Yeah,
see so much stuff on Instagram where I'm just like,
yeah,
that is not correct.
yeah,
That is not real life. That is not reality. And it's I feel like there's just so much there's good information out there,
yeah,
which I see a lot of good information. I'm like, "Okay, here are the exercises, here are things," but there's also probably just as much or even more false information, and
yeah,
I try to paint a clear picture
yeah.
of things. So, yeah, so that's the positives and negatives of social media.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. There are some, and I'm not saying that this is something that everybody has to do, but I love when there are some people who will actually cite studies and things like that
Mhm,
when it is on social media, because it, again, like you said, there's the good and the bad, and then there's like the ugly. It's just like,
mhm,
okay, that is not accurate.
yeah.
And so it's good, and I appreciate your content because it is very educational, and it is, it shows that you know what you're talking about when you do post it, and you put the effort into making sure people understand, which is super cool.
Oh yeah, and it's like I said, it's good and bad and ugly, because a lot of it's like, okay, here's these people talking about, all right, you need to be doing this, and okay, well,
Yeah.
if you dive into who that person is, like they're not a doctor, they're not a PT, they're just what knowledge, like what background do they have? Obviously, they probably saw something or they did something, and that's another thing too, where it's like people will be like, "Oh, I've had knee pain my whole life, and I started doing this one exercise, and then all of a sudden
Yeah.
the pain's gone away." And yes, that's awesome. I'm glad that they have figured that out for them. But injuries themselves are very complex, right? There's so many different things that go into somebody's injury, and just because you are experiencing one symptom doesn't mean that you're going to do this one thing that this person's trying to sell you on or trying to kind of say, oh, you need to listen to me because I know what I'm talking about, right? It's very complex. And I wish it was very simple where it's like, oh, yeah, you have this injury, you do this exercise, and it gets fixed. But it's not. And that's
Yeah.
where I come in. It's like you need to assess the whole body, you need to assess the whole person, you need to understand who they are, you need to understand, you know, what's going on in their life, what's causing it, first of all, and two, what's continuing, or I guess what's making this continue to happen? Is it their run form? Is it their day-to-day habits? Is it the way they sleep? Is it the way they walk? Is it the way they, you know, carry their stress? There's so many different things that go into injuries. And so that's why I try to provide the picture of, hey, you need to take a look at the whole individual because you are treating an individual at the end of the day and everybody's different.
Yeah, absolutely. And so along with your physical therapy, you are a coach, which we've talked about and you've mentioned. How long have you been coaching for?
So I've been coaching for a little bit over a year now.
Okay.
I, obviously I've had the experience as a runner and, obviously the in-depth knowledge as being a physical therapist. And, I wanted to get into coaching because I wanted to bridge that gap. I know a lot about injuries, I know a lot about like, body mechanics and things like that. I have personal running experience, didn't have as much coaching experience. So I did want to get a little bit more of an understanding of what it takes to truly design and implement proper like training programs, the
Yeah.
science behind that. So I did, my own research. I got a coaching certification through RRCA, Roadrunners Club of America, to try to bridge that gap. So I've been doing a little bit over a year now, and it's been awesome.
Yeah. And so are you actively taking clients?
Yes, yes. So in person, we do things through our clinic.
Oh, nice.
In Durham here, then also taking patients and clients through online as well.
Yeah, I feel like in a clinic that just provides, another asset to your clinic as a whole, where you can to an extent bring in not a niche, but the running community to your clinic because you have the coaching experience and the physical therapy experience and the running experience. So that, makes your clinic more accessible.
Yeah, and a lot of the conversations that I have with my patients of, okay, like, what is your training looking like? What are you doing on a day-to-day basis? What goals do you have? Do you have a race coming up? So obviously, let's take care of the injury, number one. Two, let's talk about how this is not going to happen again, and what are we going to do to make sure it's not going to happen again? Are we going to
Yeah.
or we're going to design a strength training program, or are we going to design a kind of proper running program to make sure you are not pushing yourself too much and going at the correct pace and time and not doing too much too soon. And that's kind of the gap that I was trying to bridge of like, all right, I have that knowledge of fixing somebody, now let's try to make somebody the best at their running, right, and how to optimize their performance.
Yeah, that's super cool. And and so we've talked a lot about, a lot of different things, your therapy career, your family, friends, fitness, coaching. How are you balancing all of those things, as a person who's taking care of those things?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, just taking one day at a time, right? It's more of a juggle than it is a balance, really, because
Yeah.
you're having
Yeah.
your hand on all of them at the same time. But it's what I want to do, right? I want to be a runner. I want to be a dad. I want to be a husband. I want to be a PT, and I want to be a coach. So it's all things that I enjoy doing. None of those things that I do, I'm like, dang, I don't really want to do this today. And everything is different, right? It's not like all I'm doing is running or all I'm doing is being a PT or
Yeah.
all I'm doing is being a good dad and a husband. You get the opportunity to do all the above. And honestly, it's a blessing and it's a joy. There's so many people in this world that I feel like I'm very fortunate and I'm very lucky to have the path that I've had to get to where I am right now. And I've had many people help me along the way. And I feel like I do take time to reflect on that of how I got into this situation and how many people out there wish they could be in my shoes, wish that they could be able to run, wish that they were able to go to PT school and graduate. That's a tough thing to even do itself,
Yeah.
wish I had a stable family life, I definitely don't take that for granted, and I think at the end of the day, it's just being grateful for the position that I'm in, and I think that can kind of drive a lot of my passions.
Yeah, that's an awesome way to think about it. Juggling is definitely how I feel sometimes as well.
Yeah.
And so before we wrap up, two more questions for you.
Mhm.
What advice would you give someone who was a college athlete? And I know we talked about this a little bit already, but
Mhm.
a former college athlete that is stepping into the endurance world or anything else, physical therapy school. What kind of advice would you give them that to help them transition to a new world?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is don't forget about your sport or don't forget about, what got you to where you were. To play college athletics, I forget the statistic, but it's in the single digits, right? Of how many
Yeah.
high school athletes go on to play college, right? So the fact that you got to where you were means that you put in the work. That means you had the dedication. Means you had the motivation, you had the skills, you had the mindset to get to that point. And I would recommend to take that with you to your next phase of your life, right? First one, really sit down and think about what you want to do with your life moving forward and have that same mindset, that same drive, that same determination, and take that with you to that next step. And honestly, find people that can help you do that. Right. We all kind of what I mentioned earlier got to be to college athletics and our lives where we're at now with the help of other people. Once you leave your team or your sport, you feel like that phase is gone and there's that missing sense of community and in that locker room. But really there's another locker room out there that's waiting for you. And there's another group of individuals or team members that are here to help you. And it could be your family, it could be your coworkers, it could be your friends, it could be your neighbors, whoever it is. Find people that are going to help you excel in that phase. It could be coaches, right? It could be you or I that could help you get to that next phase, whether it be, your personal life, your professional life, your running journey, whatever it may be. So have that same mentality and then find that community as well.
Yeah, that's definitely good advice. It's a community that will get you to where you want to be.
Hmm.
And you just have to have the same attitude that'll get you there.
Yeah. And I feel like with the running community, like it's crazy just from I remember from where I was a couple years ago to now, just like I feel like there's so much more out there, right? There's all these
Yeah.
like run clubs are booming. Like there's a run
Yeah.
club at every corner of the United States, it seems like every
Yeah.
brewery, every shoe store, every
Yeah.
athletic place, there's a run club associated
Yeah.
with it. So I feel like that wasn't like that. There's like Strava has been booming, right? Like all of
Yeah.
these like events that you can go to. Like there's so much out there, and like just talking about running specifically, that I feel like wasn't. That is just I feel it's going to continue to grow. There's so many more people that are running marathons. There's so many more people that are doing races. I read a stat today. I think it was 1% of people that applied for the New York City Marathon got it. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's running is booming, and there's a running community all around you. So definitely look for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you mentioned the New York City Marathon Lottery, which I think a lot of people have feelings about, but I think you also mentioned that you have a race in 2 weeks. What
Mhm.
is that?
I'm doing the Shamrock Marathon in Virginia Beach, March 22nd.
Oh, nice.
Mhm.
And that's a half or full?
The full marathon.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
How are you feeling? You're coming down off the train up?
Every day is different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on the day that you ask. Some day I'm like, oh, I'm about to kill this race. And then
Yeah.
next day I'm like, if I just do 1 minute PR, I'd be happy, right? Like,
That's it. Yeah.
and that I feel like that's just marathon training, right? Some days you're
Exactly.
gonna feel sky high and be like, oh yeah, this is going great. And other days it's gonna be the complete opposite. So overall, I've had a positive mindset with it the whole time. Has training gone as planned? No, not necessarily. But again, that's marathon training, right? You have this
Yeah.
beautiful plan written out. All right, yeah, I'm gonna be at this mark. I'm gonna be doing this. things happen where you
Yeah.
can't necessarily do that, but you got to kind of adjust on the fly, like we already talked about. I'm looking forward to it. I'm just ready to go. It's been a long, well, I think I made like a 16-week plan, so
Yeah.
it's been fun though. I like training, especially this winter time. A lot of people hate running in the winter. I love
Yeah.
running in the winter.
Yeah.
It's kinda like a way to push yourself because it's cold, it's dark, it's nobody wants to be out there, and you're out
Yeah.
there, and the fact that you are out there, again, is something to be proud of. So, I definitely pushed myself this winter, and, you grow along the way, and I think that's the whole point of really running a marathon and training for a race like that is seeing how you can see yourself grow in that time frame. So, yes, it's been tough. There's been ups and downs, but
Yeah.
I've stuck with it, and I feel like I've grown from it, and I'm ready to race.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned training during the winter. My winter has not been that great, but in other winters, I love becoming like the local legend on Strava
Oh, yeah.
on a segment in the winter because I know no one else is out here running in this cold weather except for
Yeah,
me. So it's like, yep,
yeah. I've actually
yeah,
done that where I've done a long run, and I've gone back, and I was like, "It was 20 degrees this morning, like, let me see, was anybody else out there besides me?"
yeah,
It's just
nobody. Yeah,
Oh, I'm sure there was, but it's something to think about, but
yeah. Well, this has been a an awesome conversation. Before we wrap up, where can people follow you, connect with you, whether it's social media or coaching or physical therapy?
yeah, so, main thing is you can just find me on Instagram. It's Etheridge DPT. My email is my first and last name, hunteretheridge@gmail.com. Those would be the best two ways to get in contact with me. But I'm active on Instagram. I post something every day. So shoot me a DM, follow me. I'll respond. I'm not one of those ones to not respond. I'm here to help people, and that's what I like.
Yeah.
So if you want something, you reach out to me, I'll reach back out.
Yeah, definitely go check him out. The information that is on his I think the last thing I saw was like running in like breaking in super shoes.
Yep.
And so there's a lot of good information on your Instagram and I think people appreciate that. So Hunter, this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for coming on the Retired Athlete Mentality podcast and we'll talk soon.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.